Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is me, the Mysterious Cameraman, and today we will be watching Space Battles: The Attacks of Moonu at 0.25 speed. Before we jump into this, there's a few things I'd like to say. First is that there are spoilers, so if you haven't already watched the original episode of The Attacks of Moonu, go watch that now. In this video, I've watched The Attacks of Moonu at 4 times slower than normal. I'm going to point out some interesting details and some things you can only see this slow. This video will change your perspective on how you watch The Attacks of Moonu, so I hope you liked the video. Finally, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It would mean a lot, and now let's begin. Number 1. Father of the Galaxy. In every single Space Battles episode after the first one, there has been a very interesting detail. I'm pointing this out in this one because it wasn't in episode 1. I'm not going to point it out in the other ones because it takes up some time. But Father of the Galaxy, if you watch it, and you can probably see that now, Father of the Galaxy is, instead of a long time ago in a galaxy farther than that other galaxy, it is a long time ago in the galaxy farther than that other galaxy. So, it's one of those details that you can probably notice, but it's hidden with one letter that it's not really something that you're easily going to see. Then next, we have number 2. Number 2. Bunty is knowing the wrong thing. This is during the starting credits, which actually go extremely fast, but if you watch it this slow, you can actually see perfectly how it was meant to go. So it's probably going now, but I'm going to pause it here to read through these lines. It says that Ghetto Bunty is trying to help Darth Moonu, but knows it's the wrong thing. He is needing escaping. As you can see now, Bunty is doing the wrong thing and is needing escaping. It's both highlighted. So that's definitely something that you need to take note on, because though the starting credits were fast and you might not think much of it, it's saying that Bunty's needing escaping is actually something very huge. And also saying knowing it's the wrong thing, that's something very interesting that might come into later episodes. Because this went this fast, no one really watched it this slow, so no one would notice. But if you watched it this slow, it would be very clear to you, actually, to see that it says that he's doing the wrong thing. So it's like really interesting, because if you didn't watch it this slow, you would never know. And now that all the episodes are done, you obviously know what happens. But if the episodes weren't done, there could be a lot of things going around the fact that Bunty might escape. Number 3. Ezra is on a green table. We are now heading into the actual episode because there were 2 things in the starting credits, so that's a very weird thing. But now going into the end, during the start of the episode really, Ezra is on a green table, and this is something that you might not notice because it's very hidden, but you can probably see now. It's circled. There are some hints of something green faded out, of like something that Ezra and aka Jello is sitting on. And that's something really interesting. Now you should see something that like is a drawn representation of what it could be like. It's very interesting because it's not something you truly think about. Like, it's not something that you would think, because it's like, how would he be sitting on a green table? He's probably just sitting on the floor, but you can clearly tell by watching it this slow that he's sitting on something, and it's most likely a green table. And if you watch the other episodes, there's clearly other techniques of scenes that look like this, except it's not as faded. So we'll go to that in other episodes. This episode is only 5 minutes and 40 seconds, so we're about to skip like 3 minutes, and it's almost over. Number 4. Ghetto Bunty is using a Black Panther gun. The thumbnail image, most likely, and other things in this episode, basically this is the biggest detail: Black Panther gun. By looking through the scene, it's a very small fight scene, and you might not notice, but if you watch it in slow motion, you can probably see now a certain clip, and now if you zoom in, by looking at it now, you can clearly tell that that's a Black Panther gun. it will now show you that this is a gun sold on Amazon. It's not that much money. It's Black Panther and Wakandan. If you did not know that Camera Clip Studios is doing a Thor Ragnarok spin-off and is also doing a Doctor Strange spin-off movie in later times. But the Thor Ragnarok one is happening relatively soon. And this Black Panther reference, they have not talked about doing a Black Panther crossover, or aka spin-off, because they're not really doing a crossover. But it would be really cool to have something Black Panther related, because there has never been a talk about that. But judging by the fact that you've seen The Sorcerers, which is Doctor Strange, which is coming out soon, and the Thor Ragnarok spin-off, which is currently unnamed, that's definitely something that might come in the later things. Because if you actually look at Phase 1, it is actually taken from Marvel, based off like the Phase 1 thing, and also they like Marvel, if you didn't know. The creators do really enjoy Marvel and DC, but mostly Marvel, and a lot of it is based off Marvel, and there's a lot of Marvel hidden details throughout the episodes. So it's going to be very interesting to see if a Black Panther crossover, aka spin-off, I should stop saying crossover, will happen, because I wouldn't be so surprised if it does, because a Black Panther spin-off wouldn't be so far from what you'd really expect, because it's just like a small hint towards something greater. Number 5. Early Ghetto Bunty, aka Bob, face reveal. This is why I say aka Bob, is because Bob never did a face reveal going into this, and this is Bob playing Ghetto Bunty, so it's kind of a Ghetto Bunty face reveal, but it's also a Bob face reveal. But going into it, at the end of this episode, at the same scene that you found the Black Panther gun, you can clearly see that at the end he pretty quickly takes off his mask, but the camera is then covered. But if you watch in slow motion, there's multiple seconds that you can actually see him unmasked, and you can see that now. It is very blurry because the camera didn't really get a good shot of it, because it was for like half a second. But if you see that photo, you can actually clearly tell that that's the same person. And if you can get a side by side right here, you can clearly see that versus that from episode 5, because that's when Ghetto Bunty actually doesn't wear any masks in the cavern of Moonu. So if we can get a side by side here, you can actually clearly tell that that is the early Ghetto Bunty / Bob face reveal. So that's actually something that they have talked about. And also, it was not intentional. He took it off too early, so that was something very interesting, and that's a detail that you may not have noticed. Number 6, on Tatooine. The final detail to wrap up this episode is in the final seconds and scene of this episode, and this is on Tatooine. If you might not have noticed, it's a very obvious detail, probably the most obvious detail that we're looking through this episode, because the episode had a lot of more hidden details, so this is probably one that you noticed the most. So if you didn't notice this, it's not really a problem, but in this episode, at the end, you can clearly see, right now, there are 2 suns, which is something very common for Tatooine and is ended in a lot of Star Wars films, and also that hut. And that hut is actually Luke Skywalker's house. So that's something Luke Skywalker's, and I believe Anakin's. I think so, if I'm correct. It's very interesting how they tie into that, and it's interesting how they end on Tatooine when there are a few scenes. In the first scene, you can see and not in the first scene, but in the first scene I'm talking about now, Ghetto Bunty and Ezra face off on Alton because of the woods. And then you go to the ship where the final battle is, and now you're on Tatooine. So it's this desert place. I doubt it's actually Tatooine. But if all the scenes we've seen on Alton are tree, I really doubt that this is on Alton, because if it was on Alton, why would there be a desert? So that's really my thoughts on it. thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching all the way through this video. It took a long time to create. I'm really excited to do episode 3, and I hope you enjoyed it. Next time, it will be Space Battles Season 1, Episode 3, The Rise of Bunty, in 0.25 speed. See you then.